The man who ruled the seas like an emperor. For centuries, the word pirate has been reduced to caricature, drunken sailors, crude violence, and lawless men chasing gold. But history hides a far more terrifying truth. There was a pirate so powerful that entire empires feared him, so organized that he commanded fleets larger than national navies, and so intelligent that governments were forced to negotiate rather than fight. This is not a legend born from rumor or exaggeration. This is the true story of Ching Shih, the most powerful pirate in human history, a woman who rose from absolute obscurity to rule the seas like an emperor, bending the Qing Dynasty, European powers, and the laws of nature itself to her will. Long before her name echoed across the South China Sea, Ching Shih was nobody. Born around 1775 in Guangdong, China, her early life was harsh, anonymous, and invisible to history. She did not inherit power, wealth, or status. Instead, she worked in a floating brothel, a grim reminder of how disposable women were in Qing-era society. But what history rarely tells you is that places like these were also schools of survival. Every night, Ching Shih listened. She learned how men thought, how power moved, how secrets were traded like currency, and how fear could be used more effectively than violence. While others saw only a woman trapped by circumstance, Ching Shih was quietly learning the psychology of control. Her life changed forever when she caught the attention of Zheng Yi, one of the most feared pirates in the South China Sea. Zheng Yi was no common raider. He commanded a massive pirate confederation, a loose but formidable alliance of fleets that already rivaled regional navies. When Zheng Yi proposed marriage, it was not romance, it was strategy. And Ching Shih understood that immediately. She agreed on one condition: equal power, half of all plunder, shared command, and political authority within the fleet. In a world where women had no rights, she demanded, and received, equality. That alone should tell you this was no ordinary woman. After their marriage, Ching Shih did not remain in the shadows. She became the mind behind the operation. While Zheng Yi commanded loyalty through reputation and force, Ching Shih built systems. She transformed piracy from chaos into structure. Fleets were organized, territories were assigned, and discipline was enforced with terrifying precision. Under her influence, piracy stopped being random violence and became something far more dangerous, an empire without borders. Then, in 1807, disaster struck. Zheng Yi died suddenly during a typhoon. In any other pirate society, this would have meant collapse. Rivals would fight, fleets would fragment, and power would vanish overnight. But Ching Shih did something no one expected. She moved faster than anyone else, securing alliances, bribing officers, and neutralizing threats before they could even organize. Within weeks, she had taken full control of the Confederation. Thousands of hardened pirates, men who had never bowed to law or crown, now answered to a single woman. This was the birth of the Red Flag Fleet, the most powerful pirate force ever recorded. At its peak, it commanded over 1,800 ships and more than 80,000 pirates. To put that into perspective, many national navies at the time were smaller. Coastal cities paid protection money. Fishing villages obeyed pirate law. Trade routes survived only by her permission. Ching Shih didn't just raid the seas, she governed them. What truly separated her from every pirate before or after was her code of law. Theft from the fleet was punishable by death. Disobedience meant execution. Rape was strictly forbidden. Offenders were beheaded or thrown overboard with weights tied to their feet. Captured women were either released, ransomed, or legally married with consent. This ruthless but structured discipline did something no pirate leader had ever achieved: absolute loyalty. Her pirates didn't just fear her, they believed in the system she created. By now, the Qing dynasty could no longer ignore her. Entire provinces were destabilized. Trade collapsed. Imperial fleets were humiliated again and again. Even with superior weapons, the navy failed repeatedly. Ching Shih knew the waters better. She controlled intelligence networks along the coast. Every imperial move was anticipated, every ambush reversed. Soon, the Qing government did something unprecedented. They asked for help from the Europeans. The Portuguese navy attempted to crush her fleet. They failed. The British observed carefully, and chose not to engage. That alone speaks volumes. When the world's greatest naval power decides not to fight you, you are no longer a pirate, you are a geopolitical force. By the end of this phase of her reign, Ching Shih had achieved the impossible. She stood undefeated, unchallenged, and unstoppable. Empires trembled. The sea obeyed her rules. And yet, the most shocking part of her story was still to come. Because unlike every pirate legend you've ever heard, Ching Shih did not die violently, did not vanish into myth, and did not lose everything. She would do something no pirate in history had ever done. When empires begged a pirate for peace, by the time the Qing Dynasty fully understood the scale of the threat they were facing, it was already too late. Ching Shih was no longer just a pirate leader operating from the shadows of the South China Sea. She had become a parallel government, enforcing her own laws, collecting her own taxes, and controlling trade routes that fed millions of people. Entire coastal regions functioned only because she allowed them to. Fishermen paid her fees before they paid imperial taxes. Merchants adjusted their schedules around her patrols, not the navies. Even local officials quietly negotiated with her agents, knowing that resisting meant destruction. What made Ching Shih truly terrifying was not just the size of her fleet, but the precision with which it operated. The Red Flag Fleet was divided into squadrons, each assigned specific waters, ports, and responsibilities. Communication moved faster than the Imperial Navy could track. Signal flags, fires, and messenger boats created a real-time intelligence network stretching hundreds of miles. When an Imperial fleet sailed, Ching Shih knew before it reached open water. When a trap was set, she avoided it days in advance. Her control of information turned the sea itself into a weapon. The Qing Dynasty responded the only way it knew how: brute force. Massive naval expeditions were launched to wipe out the Pirate Confederation once and for all. Cannon-armed warships clashed with red flag junks in violent engagements that shattered coastlines and turned bays into graveyards of burning wood. But again and again, the imperial fleets failed. They were outnumbered, outmaneuvered, and demoralized. Sailors deserted. Commanders falsified reports to avoid punishment. The empire's prestige bled away with every defeat. In desperation, the Qing court did something humiliating. They turned to foreign powers. The Portuguese navy, based in Macau, was asked to intervene. Armed with modern European ships and disciplined crews, the Portuguese believed they could succeed where the Qing had failed. They underestimated Ching Shih. When Portuguese vessels engaged the Red Flag Fleet, they found themselves surrounded, cut off, and forced into retreat. Their superior firepower meant nothing in narrow waters controlled by pirates who knew every current, reef, and hidden channel. The British, observing from a distance, made a decision that would echo through history. They refused to fight her. Britain, the world's dominant naval power, calculated the cost and decided that engaging Ching Shih was not worth the blood, ships, and instability it would cause. This silent acknowledgement elevated her status beyond piracy. She was now recognized, unofficially, but unmistakably, as a force too powerful to crush. And yet, Ching Shih understood something the emperors and admirals did not. Power built on violence alone cannot last forever. The more she expanded, the more pressure built against her. Supplies became harder to manage. Discipline required constant enforcement. Rivals within the Confederation began to imagine life after her rule. She knew that the greatest threat to her empire was not the Qing Navy or European cannons, it was time. So she did the unthinkable. Instead of fighting until collapse, Ching Shih opened secret negotiations with the very empire she had humiliated for years. Imperial officials were stunned. No pirate had ever dictated terms to the Qing dynasty. Pirates were executed, not negotiated with. But Ching Shih approached talks from a position of absolute strength. She did not beg. She did not surrender. She offered peace, on her terms. Her demands were unprecedented. Full amnesty for her and her followers. No executions. No imprisonment. The right for her pirates to keep their wealth. Official positions or integration into the imperial military for many of her officers. Even marriage alliances were negotiated to legitimize her power. The Qing court debated fiercely, torn between pride and survival. But reality was brutal and undeniable. They could not defeat her. Every additional year of war weakened the empire further. In 1810, the impossible happened. The Qing dynasty accepted. Ching Shih sailed into Canton not as a captive, but as a negotiator. Thousands of pirates laid down their weapons, not in defeat, but in victory through intelligence. The Red Flag Fleet disbanded under official protection. No mass executions followed, no betrayals. The empire kept its coastline intact, and Ching Shih walked away richer, safer, and more powerful than any pirate in history had ever been. But her story doesn't end with retirement. Unlike every pirate legend filled with blood-soaked endings, Ching Shih transitioned into civilian life seamlessly. She married her trusted lieutenant, Zhang Bao, strengthening political legitimacy, and settled into business. She opened a gambling house, ran a smuggling operation with legal cover, and lived comfortably, protected by the very government that once hunted her. She raised children. She aged peacefully. She died around 1844, not in battle, not in chains, but in old age. This is what makes her story unmatched. She didn't just conquer the sea. She outlived the system designed to destroy her. No pirate before her commanded such numbers. No pirate after her negotiated with an empire and won. No pirate in history retired undefeated. And yet, one final question remains, perhaps the most unsettling of all. The legacy they tried to erase. History is not written by those who hold the most power. It is written by those who survive long enough to control the story. And in that sense, Ching Shih was never supposed to exist. A woman who rose from nothing, dominated the seas, defeated empires without being defeated herself, and then walked away victorious, violated every rule that traditional history depended on. She was not a tragic hero. She was not a cautionary tale. She was something far more dangerous to authority, proof that power does not belong exclusively to kings, armies, or men. After her retirement, the Qing Dynasty quietly absorbed the shock of what had happened. Official records were minimized. Court historians softened the scale of her victories. Her name appeared briefly, stripped of context, reduced to a pirate widow, rather than the architect of the largest pirate empire ever assembled. This was not an accident. Acknowledging her full story would have exposed the empire's greatest humiliation. They had been outmatched not by a foreign power, but by a woman who understood leadership better than they did. Meanwhile, Western history took a different path. Male pirates like Blackbeard, Captain Kidd, and Henry Morgan were romanticized, exaggerated, and mythologized. Their defeats became legends, their brutality transformed into adventure. Ching Shih didn't fit that narrative. She was too successful, too disciplined, too intelligent. She didn't die in a blaze of glory, she won. And stories that end with a woman defeating every system designed to crush her make empires uncomfortable. What truly sets Ching Shih apart is not just scale, but strategy. She understood something timeless. Violence is a tool, not a goal. Fear must be controlled, loyalty must be rewarded, chaos must be structured. Her legal code, brutal but fair, created order where none existed. She built a system where her followers knew exactly what would happen if they obeyed, and exactly what would happen if they didn't. This predictability, not cruelty, is what stabilized her rule. Governments still rely on the same principle today. Her leadership also shattered myths about gender and power. Ching Shih did not rule by pretending to be a man. She ruled by understanding human behavior at its core. She negotiated marriages, alliances, and economics with the same precision she used in naval warfare. She knew when to fight, when to wait, and when to walk away. That final decision, choosing survival over legend, may be the most powerful act of her life. Think about it. Every famous pirate you know lost everything. Every empire she fought failed to defeat her. She kept her wealth. She protected her people. She died free. In the end, Ching Shih proved something that history still struggles to accept. True power is not about domination. It's about control, timing, and intelligence. She didn't just challenge empires. She forced them to evolve. The Qing dynasty restructured its naval defenses because of her. European powers reconsidered their expansion strategies. Coastal China was forever changed by the shadow she cast across the sea. And yet, she never sought immortality through myth. She sought something far rarer, victory without destruction. So when we ask who the most powerful pirate in history was, the answer is not debatable. Not by numbers, not by influence, not by outcome. It was Ching Shih, the woman who ruled the seas, bent empires to her will, and walked away undefeated. This is not just a pirate story. It is a lesson in power, leadership, and the uncomfortable truth that history often hides its most extraordinary figures, not because they failed, but because they succeeded too well. And that is where her story ends.